The purpose of an omniscience metropolitan center would be for believers to come together and where the exchange of their genius and talents would serve to increase our survivability. As hunter-gatherers, we had a hard life, and when we became farmers, populations grew. Then we had more leisure time to develop original ideas. The people began to come together into hamlets, and as modern industrialization took hold, larger populations crowded into cities. The introduction to mass education increased the intelligence and the capabilities of the populace to further the escalation of the industrial age. The advances of the space age came about because of an ever-increasing need for higher learning. We now stand at the edge of a new age of enlightenment, and since our lives get easier with every improvement, we should make it our goal to raise ourselves to the highest plane of existence. This could be a design for an infrastructure that would produce all the resources necessary to provide for every individual in each community. These territories would free the people and would be places that would give the faithful the means to take advantage of every opportunity that could be made available. The purpose of omniscientism is to study all aspects of the data, good and evil, and to develop our expertise into the most powerful ways conceivable so that our superior forces conquer the wickedness. I believe this to be one of the most meaningful things that we can do. The Metropolis could provide environments for social assembly that would promote healthy interactions in order to advance the believer's potential. Gathering halls could be where motivational speeches would be made for the pursuit of happiness through intellectual enlightenment and where personal and collective achievement would be advanced and celebrated. These could be places that would make it likely for the citizens to make social connections and form long-term relationships which would directly increase their prospects and their rewards. Here we would promote equal opportunity and support each other to religiously strive for success. The orators would provide guidance to direct us psychologically and sociologically towards better lives. The road to truth would be worshipped, and the diligent use of our analytical aptitudes to resolve everything would be our religious conviction. It would be our duty to be caretakers. Every problem would be our task to solve and considered occasions for advancement of both the individual and of our faith. We would perpetually move ourselves towards illumination with the accomplishments of the disciples, and we would be able to continuously grow as a belief with the constant improvement of our lifestyle. We could influence others of this philosophy, and they would learn the true meaning and purpose of their existence as we recruited them through the promotion of our ambitions and our actions. Municipalities exist for different reasons, and a survey of diverse areas would enable us to determine their requirements. Every urban area could be supplied through local development or by way of a distribution network to ensure that it would be run efficiently to provide for every want or need. A continuous improvement policy would be part of a regular maintenance routine that could contribute to the smooth operation of every neighborhood. The requirements of various districts would depend on environmental conditions and on the purpose of its existence. These could be categorized as anything from mine development to leisure activities. Increased opportunities in education and personal advancement should be available in every residential area to allow for freedom of mobility and to strengthen the capabilities of the people. Suitable and clean housing should be universally available and would be essential for maintaining a positive social setting. The safety criteria should be met and enhanced as required. Emergency repairs could be done immediately. Everything else could be maintained on a priority basis with a regular schedule. As we build and redevelop surroundings, we should employ practical architecture and materials with greater durability that are salvageable. The design should ensure that goods and services are conveniently located. We could apply the visuals inspirationally to promote a positive lifestyle and to be goal-oriented. We must guarantee accessibility to an abundant source of fresh water. Every city should be able to produce its own clean and safe energy, and as a backup, it should be hooked up to a power grid in order to feed into it any excess power generated and to be able to draw from it if there was an outage locally. Huge hydroponic towers could be built to produce oxygen, provide victuals, medicine, natural fibers such as cotton and other materials. Every plant would be chosen, developed, or designed for its usefulness. The use of red and blue lights can significantly increase crop yields by 25 times, and only 10% of the water is used than that of conventional farming methods. The vegetation could be engineered to grow as fast as possible, 24 hours a day. Since we would have 3D food production, biovats could be used to provide the raw substances required. These replicators could whip up fancy haute cuisine as well as tried and true favorites. The fabricators would also print out meat that would be free of E. coli and antibiotics. Various types of wool could be fashioned, and perfect leather commodities could also be made. The flora ought to be adapted for off-world developments such as new planets, moons, or any form of surrounding that can be thought up and engineered. It is important to note that we can only effectively acquire a limited amount of resources from the Earth. The phenomenon called peak everything states that at some point in time, all mining operations will eventually be tapped out. The rate of consumption of our planet doubles roughly every 10 years, and as we advance and populations grow, we could deplete the non-renewables within our lifetime. We could develop the ability to transmute metals efficiently. Then we would be able to use things like monatomic gold in every device, reducing energy needs as all minerals and metals would become abundant and cheap to generate. Superconductivity applications could also lower energy needs as we improve its function over time. Cold fusion equipment may one day be endowed with both the ability to make energy and to produce transmuted elements efficiently as scientists learn to do it with a variety of materials. We should further study natural phenomena like the pistol or snapping shrimp that produce a temperature of 4,700 degrees Celsius in a single flick of its claw in order to mimic their ability for making over-unity cavitation so that we could craft new energy devices. The temperature produced by this small crustacean is remarkable when you consider that the sun's surface temperature is roughly 5,500 degrees Celsius. Some of you may question or ridicule the idea an apparatus for over-unity, but then I would ask you, what in the universe is not in perpetual motion? Products and resources could be available in a super mall on the main floor of the skyscrapers. All provisions, 3D or otherwise, would be free of chemicals, diseases, dirt contamination, and the possibility of bug and mold infestations in the grow facilities would be minimized. Floors that might develop problems could be closed down and be repaired, maintained, or upgraded without affecting other sectors. The stuff could be moved from the upper decks to the lower stories, where it would be turned into basic essentials and merchandise. The food ought to be designed to provide for all the required nutrients and vitamins necessary for healthy living. All medicinal plants that have been proven to be effective or that could be enhanced to contribute to better health would be made in these high-rises. Organic plastics, synthetic oils, and biofuels from things like algae could be grown. All the stuff could be shipped locally or abroad to be employed in cases of emergencies or for expansion elsewhere. Some of the biomass could be recycled and transformed into plant nutrients and into compost for land reclamation and landscaping purposes. These metropolitan areas could provide every essential no matter where we go. On the sea, floating homes and buildings can be assembled. Combined, they would become more stable, and we could take advantage of a larger area of the globe by fabricating on top of the water. Buoyant suburbs could exist right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. They could form floating environments along the ship laneways, possibly right across the oceans for vehicles to drive through. Layers of different aquatic life could be grown underneath, such as coral, seaweed, oysters, which would help to clean the water and would make new zones for fish that could also encircle the clusters. We could also make buoyant landscapes and industrial islands where we could process provisions from large ocean farms. The wastewater from the population and the droppings from fish habitats ought to be collected and used to produce algae, which would act as a water treatment. Algae could be used as a renewable source of biofuels and plastics, as it decays into 50% diesel and 50% oil. Energy could also be produced through wave harnessing equipment to meet power needs and could act as barricades. Excess power could be fed to the coastal cities. The surf barriers could also be combined with distillers to produce purified water. We could use reverse osmosis for cleaning water and mine the residue for gold and other precious metals. And logically, it would be easier to filter out all of the garbage as well for recovery of bits and pieces. This would maximize the use of the Earth's potential renewable and non-renewable resources. Watery worlds would also be colonized in this way. Empire extensions could be built off-world with prefab, unitized construction materials, and large areas could be covered by sections of domes, cubes, or any creative and practical design. The exoshell could have a built-in electromagnetic shield to protect from cosmic rays and to prevent dust buildup. Some of the sections could be used as solar cells as necessary. Large covered areas could also be made to hold lakes as well. Some pools could be exposed to cosmic rays, which would kill bacteria to act as a form of UV water treatment. Evaporation could form droplets on curved surfaces over some areas of the artificial seas and then be collected as it trickles down to the sides as distilled water. A detection system would also be put into place in case an event required evacuation with escape equipment available for all. In this way, not only could you erect any type of architecture, but damages could more readily be repaired with on-site equipment. The modular components could easily be 3D printed and assembled with automated systems locally. Structures could be fitted together upon permanent space decks, which could be supported by ion rocket boosters. Elevators or carbon lattice strips would connect to the ground for transportation. Burrows and related trades would be on these platforms, and they could be unified by high-speed trains. Satellites could be effortlessly installed and repaired from fixtures in various locations. From here, we could tap into the ionosphere with tethers similar to the one NASA experimented with from a shuttle, and it could be used to power applications above and below. We could extend the electromagnetic protection to enhance the natural one to enable the existence of and to shelter green spaces, animals, and people from harmful solar and cosmic rays across the space stations and the planet as well. There would also be lighter gravity still in effect, so people would be able to move freely through the environment. Such a megastructure would also be invisible to the naked eye, and yet it could cover the whole Earth. Launching from space enables the possibility of making village-sized ships that would have the capability of replicating every requirement necessary to transform any terrestrial body or region in space into an extension of the network. A large high-velocity electromagnetic launch ramp could be incorporated as part of the exoplanetary model to launch everything from a small satellite to monstrous-sized cargoes, and it could also be used to dock incoming payloads as well. NASA's Alcubierre device could be used as a warp drive for spaceships, and with the discoveries from CERN's LHC, we may be able to open stargates to anywhere in creation, allowing for the ultimate in omniscience expansion.